A rider on horseback approaches a smoking capsule in the Soviet desert. He lights a flashlight and peers inside. One cosmonaut lies motionless, the back of his skull completely gone. The other cosmonaut crawls out, barely able to stand. When he raises his head toward the rider, blood pours from his mouth and his eyes are entirely black. But to understand how we reached this nightmare, we go back to just hours before. It's 1983. Two Russian cosmonauts orbit Earth aboard a space station, discussing what they'll do when they get home. One talks about taking a hot shower. The other, Konstantin Veshnyakov, says he needs to go to Rostov. As they prepare to descend, something begins manipulating the capsule's hatch from outside. They see movement in the window, something crawling toward them across the hull. The ship violently loses control before the parachutes deploy. This is where everything goes wrong. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Dr. Tatyana Klimova sits before a review board. They're investigating her treatment of a patient. She held his head underwater for more than a minute. Her colleagues call it negligence. She says the patient was misdiagnosed, and she did what needed to be done to save his life. The board is not impressed, but before they reach a verdict, a man in a military uniform slips into the back of the room and watches in silence. When the hearing recesses, he approaches Tatyana in the lobby. He introduces himself as Colonel Semiradov. He tells her he runs a different kind of research institute, and he has a patient she might find interesting. He's already arranged for her review board to go away. She agrees to come with him. On the helicopter to Kazakhstan, Semiradov gives her almost nothing. The patient is one of the orbit of 4 cosmonauts, a national hero. He's suffering from amnesia and can't remember anything from just before the crash. He's been unresponsive to hypnosis and standard psychiatric methods. She asks whether she should sign a non-disclosure agreement, given that a Soviet national hero might have gone mad. They land at a heavily fortified facility buried in the steppe. Armed soldiers everywhere. Tatyana is told she has access to 90% of the building. The remaining 10% requires additional clearance. They enter an observation room where another doctor, a Dr. Rigel, is attempting to hypnotize Konstantin. The cosmonaut just teases him, refusing to cooperate. Tatyana enters his chamber and offers him tea. She observes how unnaturally hot he holds the cup without flinching. When she asks about the crash, he explains that the mission went perfectly until the landing procedure. After that, he remembers nothing except waking up at the institute. As Tatyana leaves the interview, she hands the teacup to Dr. Rigel. It burns his hands. She explains Konstantin has PTSD and possible nerve damage. After giving her evaluation, she asks to leave. Semiradov tells her she can leave in the morning. But morning is when she'll discover the real reason she's here. That night, there's a knock on the door. It's Semiradov. He takes her to the observation room. A security window slides down in Konstantin's chamber. Soldiers take up positions at every exit. Tatyana watches the camera feed as Konstantin convulses in his sleep, and something forces itself out of his body through his mouth. It's not human. It moves like nothing she's ever seen, roughly 1.5 meters long, fluid, alien. It crawls across the chamber floor and stops. It looks directly at her through the glass. Tatyana reaches out her hand toward it. It launches itself at the window with full force. The colonel explains everything. The creature emerged the very first night after the crash. It eliminated a medical technician in the initial recovery facility. They moved Konstantin here immediately. Without the creature inside him, his vital signs collapse within hours. With it, his body regenerates from injuries that should be fatal. Every single attempt to separate them has ended with both beginning to die. And every night, without fail, the creature exits his body and returns. The schedule has never once changed. Semiradov needs Tatyana to find a way to break that cycle for good. She agrees to stay. Over the next several days, she studies everything. Surveillance footage, hormone level data, body scans. The creature takes up almost no space inside Konstantin when it's resting within him. Outside, it expands to its full size. She tracks the patterns obsessively. She starts mapping every variable. And then she notices something that doesn't fit. The surveillance footage has been edited. Frames are missing. She confronts Rigel. He doesn't bother denying it. Instead, he hides her in his vehicle and drives her to the restricted section of the facility she hasn't been cleared to enter. Rigel parks inside the facility and hands Tatyana night vision goggles. He leaves the car. What Tatyana sees next will change everything. A massive cage sits in the center of the room. Soldiers drag a prisoner from a truck and lock him inside. They turn off all the lights and put on night vision equipment. The creature exits Konstantin's body and heads toward the cage. Tatyana watches from the car as it approaches the prisoner, then launches itself at him. It tears the back of his skull off. She makes an involuntary sound. The soldier hears her and approaches the car. Rigel diverts his attention just in time. Later, he drives her back and gives her water. He explains the creature feeds on cortisol, the fear hormone released in the brain. The prisoners are bound so they can see the creature approaching, maximizing their terror. Feeding it humans was Semiradov's idea. She calls him a coward and leaves. In one of her sessions with Konstantin, Tatyana taunts him about the son he abandoned to go to space. She watches how his endocrine system responds under psychological stress. Konstantin opens up. He only found out his son existed 1 week before the mission launched. The boy's mother had just died, leaving the child in an orphanage in Rostov. Konstantin had planned to travel there the moment he landed. The crash took that from him. During one of her late-night observation sessions, she noticed something. When she accidentally bumped a small toy sitting in the corner of the chamber, a musical doll Konstantin bought for his son before the mission, the creature immediately fixated on it. She wants to bring the toy inside. She asks to enter the chamber. Semiradov says yes. She puts on a protective suit. It coils around it, slow and almost gentle. Tatyana reaches out to touch the creature. She slips. It grabs her ankle in an instant and drags her across the floor toward the far wall. Soldiers flood the room and pull her free. But she understands now. She tells the colonel. The creature and Konstantin share consciousness. The creature responded to that toy because Konstantin loves his son. They aren't host and parasite anymore. They've become a single, hybrid entity. And separating them will require something far more radical than anything the facility has tried. Tatyana wants to take Konstantin to Moscow. Semiradov refuses. His superiors in Moscow have already ordered Konstantin terminated. Semiradov has been submitting falsified progress reports for months to buy time. The moment Moscow gets involved directly, Konstantin is finished. That night, Konstantin meets her in secret. He'd hidden his sleeping pill under his tongue, dissolved it into his guard's tea, and taken apart the room's television set to extract a magnet, which he placed on a security camera to create a timed error. He navigated the building while the cameras cycled. He leads her to a freezer room, body after body from the creature's feedings, and body scans, images of his own chest. The creature coiled inside him in perfect stillness, like a second ribcage. She asks if he can feel it. He tells her he is the creature. He remembers everything it experiences, every feeding, every detail. He's been concealing it because he needs the Moscow Review Board to believe he's stable enough for release. He wants to go home. He wants to meet his son. He says he's survived too much to die in a cage. He asks her for 2 more weeks until the review. She says nothing. Semiradov invites Tatyana to a feeding. He wants her to see the operation as it's actually run. He argues that the prisoners selected have committed crimes so serious that feeding them to the creature is a form of justice. He asks her to set aside her differences with him and help develop the creature as a strategic asset. During that night's feeding, with 2 terrified prisoners bound inside the cage and the creature circling them, Tatyana asks to be let inside. Semiradov opens the gate. With the creature moving closer to the prisoners, Tatyana starts singing Konstantin's favorite song. She heard him humming it during their sessions. The creature slows and backs away from the prisoners. Rigel watches and mutters something. The creature has adapted. It can hear now. It's been listening to everything. But then one of the prisoners breaks his restraints and runs. Pure terror floods the space. The creature attacks before anyone can intervene. After the feeding, Tatyana tells Semiradov she thinks they're close to a breakthrough. She asks for more time and more access. She's lying. She recruits Rigel quietly, switching to Latin in the surveillance-monitored corridors so the microphones catch nothing useful. She brings him over with the promise of shared credit, a discovery that could define his career. He gives her what she needs. She goes to Konstantin and lays out the truth. Semiradov will never let him leave this facility voluntarily. The only way out is her plan. She's going to inject him with drugs that simulate Addison's disease. a condition defined by critically low cortisol production. His co-pilot, Averchenko, had the condition. She believes the creature chose Konstantin as its host, specifically because Averchenko's body was an unsuitable environment. If Konstantin mimics that same biochemical signature, the creature should reject him and find separation permanent. He agrees. Rigel prepares the injection. He hands them vehicle keys and tells them to go. Then he walks alone to Semiradov's office, picks up the telephone, and calls the military authorities in Moscow. He tells them everything. Semiradov finds him before he finishes the call. Rigel is gone. Soldiers cut Tatyana and Konstantin off at the facility perimeter with weapons raised. No route out, no more time. Konstantin takes the syringe and drives it into his own heart. The creature rips out of his body. It turns on the soldiers. It moves through them fast, faster than anything they have, and it doesn't stop. In the chaos, Tatyana drags Konstantin toward the vehicle and gets him inside. But he's dying without it. His body has no way to maintain itself. She watches him deteriorate in the passenger seat. She makes a choice. She slows the car and waits for Semiradov to catch up. She knows exactly what she's doing. Semiradov needs the creature alive. The creature still needs Konstantin to survive. The colonel catches up and asks if she changed her mind. She admits they've become fully symbiotic and can't be separated. Soldiers bring the creature in an enclosure. Semiradov drops the gun she was holding. They open the creature's container. The colonel incapacitates her. But Konstantin manages something no one thought possible. He takes voluntary control of the creature. It eliminates the soldiers, then goes after Semiradov. Tatyana rushes to check if Konstantin is still alive. The creature crawls toward them. It doesn't harm her. It returns to Konstantin's body. She tells him she can separate them if she can get him to Moscow. Konstantin looks at her. The authorities Rigel called for arrive at the scene moments later. Then he ends his own life. His sacrifice prevents more casualties. Tatyana travels to Rostov, to the orphanage where Konstantin's son is being cared for. She walks into the orphanage and tells the guard she's there to adopt a boy called Lyosha Romanov. In a flashback, we see a child in the same orphanage years earlier repeatedly attempting to pick up a package despite being confined to a wheelchair. A nurse finally gives in and hands over the box. Inside are sneakers. The child puts them on and stands up from the wheelchair. The nurse says everything will be all right, son. The child turns and says, "I'm not a boy. My name is Tatyana." We fast forward to the present day again. Outside the same orphanage, Tatyana waits. The boy comes out and they embrace. Konstantin's final wish has been granted. Sputnik is one of those films that sticks with you, not just because of the creature, but because of the impossible choice at the center of it. A man who wants to be a father, a doctor who wants to do the right thing, and a monster that turns out to be the least dangerous thing in the building. If you made it this far, drop a like. It genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think. And if you want more underrated horror like this, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. Thanks for watching.